It's Christmas Day. Tonight, we light the large white candle in the center of the Advent wreath. This candle symbolizes the presence of the Holy incarnate in the world. The Messiah, the baby Jesus, is here.
Come, O wisdom of the heart. Come, O wisdom of the heart. O guiding light, O guiding light, O guiding light, O guiding light. Come, O wisdom of the heart. Sophia, guiding light. Sophia, guiding light. Come, O wisdom of the heart. 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 O guiding light, O guiding light, O guiding light, O guiding light. Come, O wisdom of the heart. Come, O wisdom of the heart. Sophia, is called For an Exile. It's from John O'Donoghue's book, Benedictus. And I thought we could just pass it around and each of us take a paragraph. It's a lengthy reading, so it might come back to you. I'll start. For an Exile. When you dream, it is always home. You are there among your own, the rhythm of their voices rising like song. Your blood would sing through any dark.
Then you awake to find yourself listening to the sounds of traffic in another land. For a moment, your whole body recoils at the strange emptiness of where you are.
The country is cold to your voice. It is still a place without echoes. Nothing of yours has happened here.
No one knows you. The language slows you. The thick accent smothers your presence. You sound foreign to yourself. Their eyes reflect how strange you seem when seen across a cold distance that has no bridge to carry the charisma in which your friends delight at home.
Though your work here is hard, it brings relief, helps your mind in returning to the small bounties of your absence.
Evening is without protection. Your room waits, ready to take you back like some convict who is afraid of the life outside.
The things you brought from home look back at you, out of place here. They take on lonely power.
You cringe at the thought that someone from home might see you now here in this unsheltered room.
Now is the time to hold faithful to your dream, to understand that this is an interim time, full of awkward disconnection.
Gradually, you will come to find your way to friends who will open doors into a new belonging. Your heart will brighten with new discovery. Your presence will unclench and find ease, letting your substance and promise be seen.
Slowly, a new world will open for you. The eyes of your heart, refined by this desert time, will be free to see and celebrate the new life for which you sacrificed so much.
Thank you. So, the experience of exile, is it a strange experience? Is it one that's familiar to us? What would you say?
Seems similar to when you move to a new place alone. Going off to college was one for me where totally new people, new environment.
Mm.
Yeah.
is the feeling of being out of place, not belonging, part of the human experience, just a normal way that people are. I thought, I remember when I was a kid, you may have had the same or similar experience. I would listen to my fellow young people, and very often people would say, "I just don't belong here." I think I was adopted. Maybe an alien dropped me off somewhere. And they would joke about it, and I sometimes wondered, if that was the case with me, because I think, at least for me, and you have your own experience, as I was growing up in the city, I felt out of place. I felt like I didn't belong. Never really felt at home in the midst of that environment. So I just wonder if it's a common human experience that we all have, or most of us have, or many have. Jesus certainly was an exile. He was a refugee. He had to flee with his parents more than once, and he felt out of place, I'm sure, in many ways, and so it's something to consider. I thought tonight I would share with you a story that happened 20 years ago, just about to this day. And I was in Bethlehem in Palestine, and was visiting schools and children and adults and churches and gatherings and refugee camps, and eating falafel sandwiches till midnight. But the experience I want to share with you is a little bit different than that. And I think it has to do with the current situation in Bethlehem now, because there is no Christmas in Bethlehem. You may know that. Bethlehem is basically shut down. The people that live there fear for their lives from the Israeli military, and as you know, the land of Gaza has been decimated by the Israeli military. And so the people in Bethlehem are not celebrating Christmas this day in solidarity with their friends and family in Gaza. They cannot celebrate. It's not possible. There's no such thing as a Merry Christmas today in the very place where Jesus was born, Bethlehem. There's too much grief, there's too much sadness, there's too much fear. So 20 years ago, almost to the day, I was in Bethlehem, and I made friends with a young man by the name of Ahmad. And perhaps he's listening tonight, we'll see. And Ahmad was a young 20-something at the time, and he introduced me to his friends, to his family, to his mother, who was born in the refugee camp, and he was born in the refugee camp. And I got to know him a little bit. And after spending time with he and his family in the refugee camp, it was time for me to leave. So I left, said goodbye, thanked them for their hospitality, and went into Bethlehem itself. And that night, at about 3 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call. It's from Ahmad. And he says, the soldiers are here, the Israeli soldiers, and they're going to blow up a house. And I knew what he was asking. He was asking for me to come and witness this, so that an American would witness what goes on there regularly, destruction of Palestinian homes, in the middle of the night. So I put on my coat, it was cold, and I began to walk. Now, you have to picture this. Walking from Bethlehem to a refugee camp, you have to walk in streets, alleyways, and it's not only dark, but it's not well lit. And there are dogs roaming around, and there's rubble because 20 years ago, a lot of bombing had happened. And so there's that. But then, to top it off, as you walk, you're aware that up in the corner, high in a tower, is a sniper who is given permission to shoot anything that moves. Okay? I was scared. No, I was terrified. And thankfully nobody shot at me. But it would have been perfectly legal for someone to shoot at me and kill me at that point. Kept walking, and as happens with me, if you know me, I get lost very easily, very quickly. And I got lost in the little town of Bethlehem, between Bethlehem and the refugee camp. So I started wandering around, and in a short amount of time, this little boy comes out of the alleyway, and he motions me to come forward. So I follow him through the alleys, winding, finally arriving where Ahmad is and his family, in the refugee camp. We embrace, and he leads me down into the basement, because about 3 doors down in the refugee camp, the soldiers set charges, and they were going to blow up a house. So the plan was to wait, just to be together, to wait, and then we would witness this and report it to whoever would listen. We waited and waited, and it became very surreal. We began to joke, we began to laugh, to tease, and there we were at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, just kidding around. The room was about 12 people, mostly young people, and Ahmad's mother, and there was a young couple sitting in the corner with a baby. I thought of Joseph and Mary and Jesus, of course. And we joked around a lot. As it got closer to 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock in that part of the world is the call to prayer time. And this beautiful chanting comes over the loudspeakers, and that's what happened. And it started, and the chanting began, and we're still waiting for the explosion to happen. And nothing happened. So finally, the men, I was included in that, stood up almost as if on cue, and we walked outside to see what was going on, and we got as far almost as the house that was going to be blown up, and a soldier screamed at us, "Stop." Ahmad screams at me, "Run." So I ran, and we all ran back into the basement, relative safety. We waited. This time we weren't joking around anymore, we just waited. And as the call to prayer was going on, continuing, I turned to Ahmad and I began to say, "Ahmad, do you think because this is so beautiful, maybe," and what I was going to say was, they changed their mind, right? The power of beauty, right, could change their mind. I was naive. And before I could get the words out of my mouth, the explosion happened. Okay. The building shook. And people in other places, I'm sure, heard it, felt it. And the building itself was destroyed, was leveled. Once the explosion happened, we all stood up as if in a funeral procession and slowly began to walk outside to where the house was. And if you've ever been in a place that's been bombed or destroyed in some ways, you know it's just horrible. It's horrid. It's the smell, the atmosphere is just terrible. Fumes, water pipe broken, spewing water all over the place. And then of course the women and the children were screaming, crying, weeping, wailing. And the men stood by helpless. And that was the point. This practice of house demolition is called collective punishment. The Israeli government and the soldiers do this regularly. They destroy the homes of Palestinians who they feel in some way contributed to some criminal act. They destroy their homes, families' homes, and so on. We stood there for quite a while, listening to the weeping and the wailing of the women and the children. Couldn't do anything. And then finally, we began to walk away. The families, three families that lost their home, were taken in immediately by other families. That's how it works. So the next morning, daylight, I said my farewells again to Ahmad and his family, and very shortly after that boarded an airplane back to the United States. When I got back to the States, I shared the story, began to share it, and I share it every year around this time. Because a very wise man told me when he first heard the story. His name is Fred Taylor. Fred was the founder of For the Love of Children flock in the inner city of D.C. Fred said to me after hearing the story, he said, "Don't you ever forget this, and make sure you tell this story as often as you can. This is not the kind of story you'll hear in the mainstream media. This is the kind of story that people over there sadly experience regularly, often." So that's the story. Any questions, any comments on that story? Anything at all?
I'm sorry you dealt with that. Unfortunately, today, that's how it does happen. Too many people suffer.
Yeah. The good part, Michael, is that Ahmad and I have remained friends for 20 years. And I just spoke with him a short time ago. He's suffering, and his family's suffering, and his friends are suffering. And nobody really, throughout the world, seems to care enough to make it stop.
I don't think anybody understands,
Yeah.
but you telling that story today, it opens up that opportunity for us
Yeah.
to see that is a truth that really does happen.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Well,
Thank you
yeah.
for sharing that.
Sure. Yeah. Me going through that, Michael, was obviously difficult, but the real suffering happens over there to those people who experience it every day,
It does.
And so yeah. Any other thoughts, questions, comments?
Almost like inconceivable. You say that was 20 years ago, but they're still doing the exact same thing today. I mean, I can't imagine living in a place where that's normal life. That just anytime they want, they can
Yep.
shoot you or blow you up or blow up the house. It's just, whoa. To me, it says a lot for the soul of the Palestinian people that they have still kept going.
And still do.
Yeah.
Right. It was great. I think the term, as you used it recently, resilience on the part of the people who are occupied.
Yeah.
And you can relate it to Jesus too, because back in Jesus' day, he was in occupation. The Roman government was occupying Palestine. Today, the Israeli government is occupying Palestine and ethnically cleansing, committing genocide, while the world basically does nothing. There have been occasional attempts to bring it to people's attention, but the US government president could end it with a phone call. Say, no more weapons to Israel until they stop this nonsense. They won't do that. Any other thoughts?
feels like. I've read books and seen movies of war zones, and I can't imagine it. I can't fathom it.
So, thank you for listening to the story. I feel, in a sense, very grateful to have experienced that, to be able to share some small fraction of what people over there go through every day, and to carry that in my own heart, and with the hope, because they're hopeful, and that's the beautiful, amazing thing, that when you speak to people there, they're hopeful that someday they'll be free of this occupation, the genocide will end, and they'll have a life. They won't need to be afraid any longer. There's a beautiful, if you want to see it on YouTube, Christmas message by a pastor over there in Bethlehem. His name is Munter Isaac. And Munter Isaac gave a message, Christmas message, and it's called Christ Under the Rubble. Because so many people, the actual death count of the Palestinians now officially is over 45,000 known deaths. Most of them are women and children. 45,000. That's a low estimate. Because under the rubble, it's expected that there's at least 10,000 more people that have not been identified. And most of them will be women and children. Okay? That's reality right now, as we speak. Munter Isaac speaks about this in very beautiful, powerful ways in his message, Christ Under the Rubble. It's worth hearing, it's worth seeing. So, we'll close with a song. I keep coming back to this simple refrain, Adoramus te, we adore you. Imagining the wise men in the story, the shepherds, the neighbors, whoever was present when Jesus was born. But then I think about Bethlehem and Palestine and Gaza, and I think about Christ under the rubble, and it presents a whole new image of prayer and adoration. Jesus once said, whatever you do to the least of these, you do it to me. So we'll sing, Adoramus te, we adore you. Oh, close of this day, we give you thanks for your great love for all peoples everywhere. May our hearts open to your love more and more, so that we too can express this love in real ways to everyone, everywhere. May it be so.